Hey, what's up YouTube? Goratha here. So today I'm going to talk about my Bleed Amazon. This is an update to my day 1 and pre-league video. The character has gone really well. I've made a Maxroll planner. I'm going to link this in the description below. This has the campaign setup, bunch of notes, loads of notes. The gym cut order, all the supports you should be going for, all the story award. It has everything. The skill rotation, the weaknesses, yeah, and gear sets. So there's a couple of gear sets here. I'm gonna talk about what I've done with the character, how I've progressed it, give you guys some options, defensive options especially, and also talk about some of the gym links and stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. I'll start with the passive trait. So early on in the campaign, I've learned a couple things. I would recommend rushing through the stalk and leap node, using explosive spear and auto attack jab ability in Act 1. This will be the easiest way level. You link the explosive spear to overabundance and expedite. This will give you 2 spears and they blow up faster. So this will be your spear throw ability they use. Spear jab is the single target in Act 1. Martial tempo, pursuit are pretty good. Pursuit gives damage after you throw the spear. That's pretty solid. Yeah, the traits. So you take stalk and leap. This gives you damage if you use the melee attack, and vice versa with the range attack. Go for that first. Then you go for splinters. Splinters gives you armor break on pretty much all your abilities. This doesn't affect the bleed, but it does give you a lot of hit damage. That's kind of nice, and the damage before it is really important early on. So I'd recommend rushing Splinters. This is a really strong node. You can grab Escape Velocity. This gives you move speed evasion, which is pretty solid. But you're looking for basically percent damage on the tree early on. Maiming Strike's good. All these spear nodes are quite good early on. Acceleration's good. This is kind of the early tree. Once you ascend, you take Critical Strike first. This will be really strong when you get accuracy. So you take like Falcon Dive, you get Pinpoint Shot. Basically, accuracy gives you crit, which is really solid. You can almost get crit cap pretty easily on this character. I mean, easily as in like you invest into accuracy and you eventually get crit cap. Most characters can't do that. This is a very strong first ascendancy node. Predatory Instinct is pretty good as well. And Penetrate. So these are going to be your second and third. To be honest with you, I think Penetrate is probably even better than Predatory Instinct. But you need an accuracy weapon to make use of this. So that's something to consider. With the gem links. So early in Act 1, you do get Rake. Rake and Fearfield. And Disengage. Rake, Disengage are kind of like the playstyle of the build. So you Rake in, it's like a lunge attack and it bleeds. You run that with Stomping Ground, Lacerate. Now, Stomping Ground procs on travel skills, and Rake is a travel skill. It's off of Strength, and that's why we're stacking Strength. So early on in the campaign, Strength is really, really strong. Items like Horns of Minden and Meganore's Girdle, these are really strong in the campaign. Like early Act 1, Act 2, you'll be one-shotting everything if you have these. There's also a Venom Puncture Ring. It's a bit expensive right now, though. I think it's like 1 Divine or something. But something to consider as well. Basically, any gear Strength is really good early on. It scales with Stomping Ground, and that's going to be your main damage in the early campaign. Disengage is a leap backwards. It's really good for dodging mechanics. This is nicely linked with Ingenuity. CDR makes it feel a lot better. You can also do Martial Tempo later when you drop the Spear Stab. Break generally replaces Spear Stab. Yeah, so you can move Martial Tempo over to the Disengage. Shocking Leap is also pretty solid. It's just a shock when you disengage sometimes when it crits. Can be pretty solid as well. Past that, you're just looking for, like I said, accuracy on your weapon, on your gear. Accuracy on weapons actually pretty important later on. Early on, it's pretty nice as well. If his damage does scale your skills. His damage on the weapon does not scale Stomping Ground, but it does scale everything else. That's pretty important. Blood Hunt is used as a finisher. So you jump in with Rake, you get a big bleed, you have Bloodhound markup, you have Spearfield proccing a bunch of debuffs and getting rage. And then the Blood Hunt will do a bunch of damage after the mob is bled out a bit. So the bleed damage gives the Blood Hunt a lot more damage. A lot of people are trying to rotate it, like just use it right away. You have to wait for the mob to degen a bit. It does a lot more damage whenever you're patient with it. This is linked to damage supports. Nothing too crazy here. It's a very strong finisher. I'll show you guys some footage of me doing some endgame bosses. Okay, I have actually cleared most of the endgame bosses already. I've gotten all my exhibition points. I've killed a couple T3 bosses. The character does really good single target, as well as has as well as good clear with Herald of Blood, with the crystals and whatnot, and magnified. Yeah, the characters overall, like, I'm very happy with it. The only issue I have with the character mostly is it's a bit squishy, especially early on and early in-game. Slams are gonna one-shot you most likely. If you get hit by a big melee slam, you're gonna die. There's a couple things you do about that. Cloak of Flames could be an interesting option. I haven't really messed around with it, but Cloak of Flames with Stalking Panther could be solid later on. My initial solution was to strength stack, get a bunch of HP. Around like 2500, I stopped getting one shot, even in like high T16 maps. Eventually, you get swapped to Evasion ES gear with like a really crazy setup, but that'll be pretty gear dependent. Early on, it's mostly the strength stacking and getting as much evasion as possible. Speaking of tankiness, Sphere Field is really, really good, especially if you're squishy and you want to play safer. Sphere Field, honestly, could be on its own build. It's a good AoE and good single target. I think they recently buffed it as well. Sphere Field is ridiculous. Initially, I was using it as more of a support ability, but I realized it's actually like really good for clear speed. So I've been using it a lot whenever there's like a hard map or there's like a big open area. Sphere Field will actually clear better than Rake even. Rake is really good in the indoor maps and enclosed areas. Sphere Field's really good at outdoor stuff and kiting and whatnot. Yes, Sphere Field's insane. It does a lot of damage against single target, especially big hitboxes. It gets a lot of quality of life through Rage and Blood in the Eyes. I dropped Rage for it eventually and grabbed Rage on my jewels. So I have 2 Rage on hit for my jewels. Rage on hit is really good. Initially, you have the Horns of Bindon, but you're going to be dropping that later. Yeah. So you get Rage. Blood in the Eyes gives you Hobble, which reduces enemy evasion. You can also go Blind. Blind's really good as well. I do eventually get Blinding Strike on the tree, which is an option. This gives you Blind on hit. Therefore, this overall, it's a really useful and versatile ability. I'm really a big fan of it. Reach and Incision make a lot of sense on this as well. Incision gives it the ability to bleed eventually. So Incision only... When Incision does proc, like you hit the Sphere Field with Incision, it'll do a bigger bleed and guarantee a bleed. So Incision has pretty good synergy, especially since we're not getting any chance to bleed on the tree. It's pretty solid. Anyways, so you have Bloodhound Mark as well. This is a debuff you put on bosses. Right before you fight the boss, you Sphere Field to get the debuffs up. Use Bloodhound Mark. This will make your bleed apply heavy stun, and then when the heavy stun happens, the Bloodhound's Mark will go off, doing a big burst of damage. Just link this to a couple damage supports and Single Out, which makes you armor break more, and Rupture, which aggravates when it does heavy stun. So this will be a guaranteed aggravate, which is pretty nice. Bloodhunt, like I said, is a finisher, and that's kind of the playstyle. We do link Herald of Blood with Magnified Effect for AoE and Hamo Crystals. This will eat the bleeds, basically. And it's also why we're using Lacerate on Rake with Stomping Ground. So, a lot of people ask this question, why are you using Lacerate when Rake always bleeds? Well, Stomping Ground is actually the majority of the AoE with Rake. Stomping Ground makes your clear speed a lot better because it'll apply the bleed from Lacerate, which will then blow up with Herald of Blood and the crystals. So this is a really good synergy here, and your Stomping Ground scales off of Penetrate from accuracy on your weapon. So big accuracy weapon with attack speed is ideal for this ability, as well as strength. I have 2 trees here. I have the pre-accuracy tree, the strength stacking tree, and then I have the accuracy weapon tree. Ideally, you don't have to spec into all the strength nodes, and you can spec more over this side of the tree, because this is a lot more damage if you can get these nodes here. But early on, you might need to go for Polymathy. Polymathy is pretty important. Lots of strength and dex, and you also get the AoE nodes. I would recommend actually anointing Authority. AoE is pretty nice to have, and CDR does make Ingenuity on disengage. It's actually really good for moving around. You basically just turn around and disengage backwards, and the cooldown recovery rate and attack speed just makes your movement really nice with that. Pretty happy with how that's turned out as well. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to talk about with the gems. I guess there's one more thing. Tame Beast. So I am not using Tame Beast myself anymore, but early on, before I did my ES swap, Tame Beast is really good for having just a random beast with loyalty. Loyalty does give you a bit of a DR buff if your minion is alive. The issue with this is you do need a spirit chest or a spirit amulet, and you'll need to keep in mind that the tame beast has random spirit costs depending on how many mods it has. So sometimes your spirit costs will be higher or lower. It's not like a static amount of spirit. That being said, you're looking for a tanky beast, ideally, with some sort of aura. There's a physical aura, I think there's a haste aura, there's like an invuln aura. You're looking for some sort of buff. I honestly didn't really look for beasts too hard. I just took whatever random one I got that did something. Yeah, the tanky want to be better because they die quite a lot. You have loyalty. Yeah, beach shield's also pretty good here. Something to consider. Later on, I do swap to some ES hybrid setup with Ghost Sense. This gear is pretty expensive though, so I didn't want to talk about this setup too much. I did want to talk about Ristata's Coil and Lycoside though. These are two items that are really good that you should go for. Unfortunately, Lycoside is pretty expensive now. It's like 3 or 4 divines. It's pretty meta because Amazon builds are all using this now. Doubles your accuracy. Definitely the first thing you should go for probably. After a good weapon. Not required by any means. Both these items are just nice to have. Basically goals for the character. You don't have to have them for the character to work. They do make the character quite a bit better though. With Slathas is just a lot more damage on your bleed eventually. And this is also pretty expensive now. I would recommend just using a rare belt with strength early on, with life, strength, and res. It would help your attributes out quite a bit. And yeah, so that's all I want to talk about the gear. Attributes are really important. I do want to mention you do want leech on rings or your gloves or your weapon. It can spawn on any of those items. You want mana leech and life leech. Life leech is one of your big defensive buffs on this character. If you don't get one shot, you're probably not gonna die. But unfortunately, if you get stunned, you may die. So stun is pretty annoying, honestly. I would recommend trying to run a stun charm. There's the option to grab Hunter's Talisman on the tree as well to get a stun charm. I do like to have the freeze charm too, so running both of these is pretty good. You also get charm slot on your belt if you're not running with Slathas. Definitely something to keep in mind. Leech is very powerful. Life and Kill is very powerful. Those combined, if you don't get one shot, you'll probably be pretty safe. And like I said again, if you're having issues, Spearfield, stay at range. Especially difficult maps, you could just Spearfield at range and you'll do a lot of damage and be very safe. Yeah, it's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about with the setup here. Like I said, there is a really endgame swap here. I don't want to talk about too much because it's very expensive. It does require an Astra Menace. But ES gear, ES hybrid gear is pretty solid. So maybe you can do it with this accuracy weapon tree. I didn't really try it myself. But you'd have to drop all the strength for Ent nodes to wear ES gear. Possibly something to look into if you're really struggling with dying. That could be an option. Like I said, Cloak of Flames could also be interesting. Cloak of Flames is Stalking Panther. You are less reliant on strength once you have the Penetrate node and you have a really high accuracy weapon, because this will scale Stomping Grounds as well. So you do have the option to go for that route as well, if it's like a big issue for you. There's also block nodes on the tree. I personally was kind of okay with the defensive situation, but it was a little difficult, and I can imagine some people struggling, so I want to give you guys some options here. There's some pretty good block nodes here. Shield Expertise is pretty solid. There's also a block over here with glancing hits, and I believe there's a pretty good block node over here as well. Parrying motion. These are all pretty good, and you can get max block pretty easily. It is a lot of investment though. Also, evasion on the tree is pretty important. You want to have evasion as well. And you have the option to do Savalin, which is a big block shield. You can be cap block. Anyways, that's all I want to talk about the gear and the tree. Yeah, overall, I've been really enjoying the character. I wanted to give you guys an update, show you guys some of my bosses and some of the close feed. It's a very fun playstyle. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. The explosions are nice. It's just very good single target. The single target is very fun as well because you have this big burst of Blood Hunt if you time it properly. You do want to make sure that when you use Blood Hunt, you do have Predatory Instinct up. This will show on the HP bar. The HP bar is a little annoying. It has like 3 different things on it. But you have like the blood loss, which is like the bleed. And then you have like the exposed weakness, which is when you're doing 50% more damage. Now that's when you really want to pop Blood Hunt, is when you have that 50% more damage buff. And that's when you get the big bleed explosion, especially if it crits. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about with the build. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.